the best wide receiver in the nation, Jeremiah Smith, said that, nah, we're not losing to Michigan no more. We're not losing to the team up north no more. And I promised that.
I love these predictions. Because clearly it just shows me that you didn't learn it. You didn't learn anything. You didn't learn anything from that ass whooping we came down to Columbus and gave y'all. Is Jeremiah Smith better than all of the other iterations of wide receivers that came before him? So the Garrett Wilsons, today, not potential. I'm not talking about what he's going to be. Today, is he better than Olave? Is he better than Garrett Wilson? Is he better than Jackson Smith and Jigba? Is he better than Marvin Harrison Jr.? Is he better than any four of those wide receivers today? Because I seem to remember all of those wide receivers lining up against us. Olave and Wilson got theirs off in the earlier years. But when they were at their peak, we beat them. And they had a better QB then than they have now. They have an NFL MVP candidate at quarterback when they were there. Matter of fact, 3 of those wide receivers were on the same team at the same goddamn time with an NFL MVP candidate. 2021. And we tapped that ass that year. Wasn't even really competitive. Threw for 400 yards.
So what happens if Jeremiah Smith does call a shot and beats y'all ass twice in a row?
Is he going to throw himself the ball?
No, Julian Sayan's going to throw him the ball.
Better than C.J. Stroud?
Julian Sayan never threw Jeremiah Smith the ball.
I'm saying better than C.J. Stroud can throw to other top flight receivers.
Well, C.J. Stroud didn't win. I'm saying,
right.
What if Jeremiah Smith?
Neither did Will Howard. Neither did Kyle McCord. But
other Ohio State players did and beat y'all ass. So what if Jeremiah Smith does?
We talking about where we at now and going forward. I'm asking.
No, you can't do. So we're going the only last 4 years.
I can't do what y'all have been doing to us for years when we were losing, when we were on a streak.
No, you can't.
No, I can't. No, I'm going to do it. No. We have been beating y'all for the last 4 years. Okay. Where we at right now is the hump y'all have to get over. So that's why we're dealing with it as it is.
Sure.
The reason why I'm using C.J. Stroud as an example is because, in my opinion, he's the peak quarterback option for y'all. Julian Sayan, as good as he may be, is not going to be C.J. Stroud this year. So, being as it may, is Jeremiah Smith going to hand himself or throw himself the ball to get this extra yardage to beat Michigan?
But to that
You're
point,
a wide receiver, fam.
No.
You don't guarantee a win anyway. You have to be thrown the ball.
But to that point, Will Howard is not the quarterback that C.J. Stroud is, but got closer to beating y'all than C.J. Stroud did.
Blouse.
What? The score was closer.
The score was closer. Doesn't the game and how it actually flows matter as well?
But then
he got blown out. He got blown out in 2021. 2022 was a close game until we had those long runs at the end.
Well, so then we can't even talk about C.J. Stroud because he had nothing to do with the reason they lost.
I didn't say that. You're conflating things because, listen. I didn't say C.J. Stroud didn't have nothing to do with y'all's losses. The only thing I said is that C.J. Stroud was a better quarterback than Julian Sayan will be this year. Right? So, based off of that, I'm asking you, what extra can J.J. Smith provide as a wide receiver to guarantee a win versus a team he hasn't beaten yet? With a lesser quarterback.
So then you can compare C.J. Stroud to
Julian Sayan. Yeah.
But we can't do that with Will Howard, who is also not a better quarterback than C.J. Stroud, but got closer to beating Michigan.
I'm just disagreeing that Will Howard was closer to beating Michigan than C.J. Stroud was.
He may not have played better, but he was closer because the score was closer.
I watched both of those games.
Right.
I watched both of their outputs.
I just said he may not have played better.
In that game, the person I felt was more dangerous to winning that game would have been C.J. Stroud 2022. Yes. C.J. Stroud 2022.
But, yeah, I agree with that.
You want me to say the team too? I was more afraid of the 2022 team than I was of this team.
What we're talking about is winning the game.
Right.
Jeremiah Smith is promising winning the game
from the wide receiver position. He needs a quarterback to deliver him the ball.
Sure,
right?
But if they win the game, they win the game.
But
winning
fam,
the game is winning the game.
I'm asking, how are you guaranteeing a win from your position with a lesser quarterback.
Maybe he feels like the team as a whole is ready to go in there.
But you also know that that's horseshit, though.
Do I?
In what way could this team be better or more talented than the one y'all had last year?
It also doesn't have to be that we are definitively better than that team last year.
So, but you presented that as an option. You just said maybe he thinks that the team is better. How did they get better?
He said not better than last year. I meant better than Michigan's team
Michigan's team this year?
Yeah.
I'm sure everybody in Scarlet and Gray thinks that
we were better than y'all last year as a team.
Facts.
We obviously lost.
Well, until we lined up. On paper, you were a better team. Yes.
Yeah. So then, him promising is not far fetched. Maybe it won't happen, but it's not far fetched, and it's going to happen. So stay tuned.
If you were a player where you could directly affect it by yourself, like quarterback, or maybe somebody on the defensive line, something like that, where you're a little bit more directly impactful.
You're more dependent on other positions as a wide receiver. Sure.
It's goofy to make that proclamation,
but you can't impact it as one person anyway, because even a quarterback has to hope that his defense does well. CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud threw for 400 yards. I would say that's impacting.
And then his defense,
he had an impact.
The bed. So he had to depend on his defense, hopefully holding y'all, and that didn't happen.
Yeah, but CJ Stroud, okay, you know what? If you want to say the defense let CJ Stroud down in 2021, I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. 2022, he had 2 picks. He had 2 turnovers. And one of them to seal the game.
The same thing in 22 because 2022,
one of them sealed the game.
The defense got better.
He the one who threw 2 second half interceptions. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the defense fault. That wasn't none of the wide receivers' fault.
Yeah, I wouldn't. None of the games have been the same. None of the 3 games have been the same. Obviously, last year we had the best defense that you've had. So far.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this plays out, man. I'm interested to see how your season plays out. You're losing a lot on defense. Obviously, you'll always have wide receivers. I'll be interested to see what the offensive line looks like. I'll be interested to see what the defensive line looks like. Because without them trenches, baby, you ain't beating shit. And that is what's still not being realized over there. They're not getting it.
I think they've stepped up this year in offensive line recruiting. They obviously didn't get your boy Felix, but neither did y'all.
Yeah, but we got Malachi Lee, and we're also ahead of you in offensive line.
Texas Tech.
I'm not claiming that.
Insane.
I'm not claiming that. We got Andrew Balboa Andrew Balboa and Ty Haywood last.
Doesn't mean you weren't in the
last cycle
race for homeboy.
We got them last year and last cycle. Plus, we were already ahead of you in terms of offensive line development. So we're not playing catch up.
I didn't say you were.
Felix Ojo probably would have started for y'all next year. There's no way in hell he would have started for us next year.
But that's not to say
not
that
a chance.
Haven't also taken a step forward in offensive line recruiting in 2026.
Okay, a step forward still ain't where Michigan's at. It's not back-to-back Joe Moore awards.
Well, of course,
it's not the number one tackle in the country. Number 2. No, hold on, wait. Yeah, no.
Y'all have
number
one of the
2.
Best offensive
number
lines.
2, because David Sanders ended as number 1.
But who are they even protecting this year? Who they even blocking for this year? Do y'all even know yet? Jaden Davis?
Okay. Like, share, subscribe. We'll catch y'all on another one.
All right, y'all.
See you.